the Trump administration is taking on MS-13 today. Health and Human Service Secretary RFK Jr. cuts jobs and fat Health and Human Services. Tariffs. The mainstream media, financial media, very upset about tariffs, but they won't tell you that workers are very happy, Trump voters. And a couple of side notes on the NPR Signal controversy, right? You didn't think those things were together? They are. Let's get into it. Right now, we'll start, of course, with our Attorney General on the scene this morning in suburban Virginia. Here she is here discussing how, thanks to the FBI, we got one of the worst MS-13 leaders off the streets this morning. Pam Bondi went on later to tell us that this was the head of MS-13 for the entire East Coast. This is her with Kash Patel in the background.
First reaction is all of our law enforcement officers are safe. That was the number one thing. They're safe. They executed a clean, safe operation, and the bad guys in custody. And thanks to the FBI, we got one of the worst of MS-13 off the streets this morning.
We were able to be out here in force to show the American people, to be here in person, that this means a lot to her and the mission. Safety is our primary concern of these communities, and we effectuated that today.
First reaction.
Excellent. A nice job, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. Amazing that they're actually like boots on the ground. These folks are like, they're just not here for the press conference, which we're going to show you in a quick second. They're actually with their agents on the front lines, bringing this guy to justice. Good for them for showing. That shows real leadership when the Attorney General of the United States is actually at the scene of an arrest. That is leadership from the top law enforcement official in the country, sending a message through all the rank and file across the country. She's got our back. She's got our backs. Here she is later at the official press conference with, again, Kash Patel in the background.
Many had been identified. They've been living here. Many had been identified. Living here, they were let freely into our country. All of these illegal aliens. I had gone to that border in September. Nothing humane was happening at that border. Passports stacked everywhere from every country you can imagine. People freely walking across our borders, fighting age men coming into our country. And this is the result of Joe Biden's open border policy.
Preach it. Right? This is the result of Biden's open border policy. As some of you might know, I just went to the border in March of 2025. It's great because it's quiet. I spoke to a Border Patrol agent. He said business from this year to last year is down a lot, over 50% decline. He was very happy. His morale was up. Where did I meet that Border Patrol? I met that Border Patrol agent in the middle of nowhere on Route 9 in New Mexico, which is this road, like literally in the middle of the Chihuahuan Desert. He was very happy. And when you have leadership like this, where Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are literally on the scene of arresting an MS-13 member, it's just great news for law enforcement across the country. Here's the White House spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, reacting on Fox earlier today.
And Tom Homan, this is what happens when you have competent federal leadership at the top, working with state and local law enforcement on the ground to put bad guys in jail. And this is a directive that has come from President Trump here at the White House to law enforcement agencies across the country. This president has your back, and he is going to support you as you pursue illegal immigrants and you pursue violent criminals in American communities. This individual who they arrested today was a national ringleader of the brutal MS-13 gang, a gang that the...
Can we just stop her for just a quick second? God, she's good at this job. She is made for this job. She's really good.
previous administration, Joe Biden and his cabinet and his team allowed to infiltrate in our country. And now President Trump and his team are cleaning up that mess by arresting these individuals. And this took place 30 miles outside of Washington, D.C., where you have politicians and mainstream media journalists who live in this city and who have derailed against the president and his crackdown on illegal immigration and on violent crime. They should be grateful that monsters like this are no longer going to be living in their communities, thanks to the great leadership of President Trump and everybody who was on the ground. They were working throughout the night, no sleep for this team, to make the lives of the American people safe.
Wow, she is varsity. She is varsity. Nailed it. How does she do that every single day? Every single day, how does she do that? Completely on message, on just a wide, like every topic literally in the world. She's on message and on target literally every single day. What I was super impressed upon, because obviously I live in Massachusetts behind enemy lines, was the local support, not necessarily at the municipal level, but at the state level in Virginia. And Governor Younkin was at the press conference with Pam Bondi, with Kash Patel, and he was praising Trump and praising the new administration and blasting the sanctuary policies of some of the sub-districts in Virginia, which would not help in this operation. Here's Governor Younkin.
Designed in the White House with this team around the table. What do we need to do in order to go after the gangs, the cartels, and of course the drugs in a community like Northern Virginia, like Fairfax County, that has seen county leadership not pursue the necessary steps in order to fight this crime? And this task force was architected in a very quick period of time and stood up immediately. And in fact, when Director Patel was confirmed, within a day, he authorized this facility and these capabilities. General Bondi immediately came to lead it, and we found ourselves with truly one-of-a-kind resources going to work. And I just want to emphasize the pace and the focus. And so, no, these were not lists that were available in the previous administration, because they wouldn't do that.
As Attorney General Bondi said, all we needed was a new president. All we needed was a new president. And that is entirely true. Absolutely true. Great job, our new team and President Trump. In the meantime, kind of the Doge continues with U.S. Health Department plans to slash 10,000 jobs as RFK upends agencies, according to Fox. Let's listen to what RFK describes. Let's go directly to the source. Here he is here.
Paradox that I've encountered here in Washington, D.C. as the new secretary of HHS. Our department is filled for the most part with competent, conscientious public servants, and yet the agency has been inefficient as a whole. Over the past 4 years during the Biden administration, HHS's budget increased by 38%.
Budget up 38%.
And its staffing increased by 17%, but all that money.
Staffing up 17%. Those are important data. Just wanted to repeat what he said.
Money has failed to improve the health of Americans. In fact, the rate of chronic disease and cancer increased dramatically as our department has grown. Our lifespan has dropped, so Americans now live 6 years shorter than Europeans. We have the sickest.
Budget up, performance down.
Nation in the world, and we have the highest rate of chronic disease. The U.S. ranks last among 40 developed nations in terms of health, but we spend 2 to 3 times more per capita than those nations. As secretary, I now understand why all this money is not improving our health. HHS is a sprawling bureaucracy that encompasses literally hundreds of departments, committees, and other offices. You know how bureaucracies work. Every time a new issue arises, they tack on another committee. This leads to tremendous waste and duplication, and worst of all, a loss of any unified sense of mission. The resulting pandemonium has injured American health and damaged department morale. When I arrived, I found that over half of our employees don't even come to work. HHS has more than 100 communications offices and more than 40 IT departments and dozens of procurement offices and 9 HR departments.
9 HR department. You know, the 9 HR departments are filled with the worst of the worst, right? Absolutely the worst. Good job, RFK Jr. Did he say 40 IT departments? 40 IT departments? Man, that's a lot of IT departments. And I don't know how many communications offices he said, but it's just a mushrooming bureaucracy that's not actually focused on the mission, which is to make America healthy. It's focused on perpetuating itself. So I think that the job numbers are actually from 82,000 to 62,000. By my reading, I think that's a 20,000 job cut, and probably well worth it. And it's going to be like one of these things like with Twitter when Musk took over Twitter. If they accidentally fire a handful of people that they really needed, they'll bring them back. Yeah. So, I mean, that might happen when you fire 20,000. You might have like a dozen people that you're like, oops, sorry, come on back. Oh, okay, then we'll bring them back. But it is time to send a message to justify why you're there. And yeah, what did you do last week? Tell me what you did last week to make America healthy. In the meantime, the mainstream media is having a meltdown about Trump's auto tariffs, 25% tariff. Here's Phil from CNBC explaining how worrisome this is for him.
Back here. But there's no doubt this is going to be a huge hit for the auto industry. One executive in the industry texted me earlier and he said, this is going to drive the auto industry, not the overall economy, strictly the auto industry, into a recession. Melissa?
So that's what we're seeing the automakers across the board fall, Phil.
It's a recession. They're down 3% this morning or so. It's a recession. Nobody seems to actually want to talk about the fact that the auto workers are very happy about this. The auto workers are very happy about this. Just trying to find the quote here. Here we go. Here, the auto workers are very happy. In a UAW statement, U.S. largest labor union said Trump's plan to impose 25% tariff on imported autos was the continuation of the president's Made in America renaissance and marked the beginning of the end of NAFTA. We applaud the Trump administration for stepping up to end the free trade disaster that has devastated working class communities for decades. Ending the race to the bottom in the auto industry starts with fixing our broken trade deals, and the Trump administration has made history with today's actions. So said the UAW president. So Wall Street, not too happy, but actual people who vote for Trump, auto workers, very, very happy. I'm proud to drive a Ford Bronco, a real Bronco, not one of those fake Bronco Sports. I drive the real Bronco made in 2021. I have a 2021 Ford Bronco. And I remember when I picked it up at the dealership, they were taking all the stickers off and, that type of thing. And there was a sticker to the upper left-hand corner of the windshield, and it said UAW. It was the UAW union label, basically, on the side, on the upper left-hand corner of the windshield. And they were just about to rip it off. And I said, no, you can keep that sticker. And I'm proud that my Bronco is made in America at the Michigan Assembly Plant in Dearborn. And that sticker is still on my Bronco almost 4 years later. And I'm down proud of it. Here is Caroline Levitt again, why this is actually going to be good for the U.S. and how it's going to drive people to actually manufacture vehicles here in America. Good for American workers.
And I would just like to emphasize these auto tariffs yesterday are a big deal for auto workers in the industry. And you saw the United Auto Workers Union, Sean Fain, who wasn't the greatest fan of the president on the campaign trail, came out this morning and applauded the president for this move, saying it's a great thing for auto workers who have been sold out by unfair trade practices. So the president is determined to rebuild our manufacturing base. We want more jobs, more products made right here in the United States, which means more money in the pockets of the American people at the end of the day.
Bingo that, Caroline Levitt. Thank you very much. More money for American workers and for Americans, right? That's more tax revenue. You know the thing. If you're building autos in the United States, that's more money in American workers' pockets, like in Ohio, Detroit, all those places, and they're going to go spend that at the grocery store. It's going to have spin-off effect. It's a fantastic thing for the American. Is there going to be a transition period? Yes. Is change instant? No. Does change come with some short-term pain? Yes. Will it be better off for America? 100%. 100%. By the way, in the meantime, and I noticed that Elon Musk posted this up, Nick Sortor, I can't pronounce his last name. You know Nick, you've probably seen him out. Judge Boasberg is now the judge presiding over the Signal case. You remember him. He's the one that's blocking the deportation of violent gang members, right? He is now just coincidentally presiding over the Signal case. Just pure coincidence. He also, I think, had something to do with Hillary Clinton email case. And while we're at it, Catherine Mayer, who just testified before Congress yesterday, was it? She is currently completely coincidental. Also, the chairwoman of the board of Signal. She's the NPR CEO. Do I have that? I think I got that right. She's the chairwoman. She's the CEO of National Public Radio. And she's also, just purely coincidentally, the chairwoman of the board of Signal, which is the encrypted app that the government officials used to transmit information about the Houthi. You know the thing, right? Those are just pure coincidences. Pure coincidences. She, by the way, does not see any bias at NPR. Here is Congressman Jordan asking her about that just yesterday.
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Hold on. That was so golden. Let's see what Jordan has to say as a follow-up.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans.
No bias. Jim, there's no bias at NPR. How dare you suggest that? How dare you suggest that? All right, I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, broadcasting to you from beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts. Behind enemy lines. We'll see you next time.